shirt doesn't have pockets. Drives me crazy. I always forget. I stand there for like 3 minutes trying to put my glasses in my pocket. There it is. So, it's a new year, and I want to start incorporating a little more planning into my my builds. To that end, I have a project I keep putting on the back burner. It's a little rough to do. One of my garrison mates, his name is Terry. Terry was a great guy. Passed on. Before he did, he was having some financial problems, so my buddy bought his Boba Fett from him. Not because he wanted the Boba Fett, just because he wanted to help Terry out. And he thought, you know, once Terry got back on his feet, here's your Boba Fett back, right? It didn't turn out that way. Terry passed on. And talking to my buddy, his name is Fitz, talking to Fitz about it, he's like, yeah, it's just in a bin in my garage. I have no desire to wear it. It needs work. I don't know how to fix it. And the thought of Terry's Fett just kind of being there in a garage somewhere, it kind of killed me a little bit. So I paid Fitz for the Fett, and so he could get his money back. And then it's been sitting in my garage ever since. So I want to make that a priority for this year. I want to get Terry's Fett up, fully approvable, and I want to costume in it a few times. I liked the guy. He was a really nice guy. And the thought of his kit just sitting in someone's garage, it needs to be out. And that's what we're going to do. So, in an attempt to organize things a little bit better, I'm going to pull all the parts out, we're going to go through it together, make a plan, and then we're going to break it down into components. When you start a costume, it's super overwhelming, right? Especially something like Boba Fett. I'm doing special edition Boba Fett, by the way. Slight differences. But that's what it was, and that's what I want it to be. But when you start a costume, there's so much all at once that it's very overwhelming. I want to show you my process to break it down so it's a bit more manageable. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a bunch of bins, and we're going to see where we're at with the costume. Alright. So, the helmet, the rangefinder, snap clean off. I have to replace that. That's easy enough. But the paint has started to crackle. So I'm probably going to have to pull the whole thing and redo it. Not a big deal. I also want to get a better way to put it on my head. I don't like foam. I like to be able to turn and have my head turn. It's the back panel. It's a little anemic. I may pull everything off and fiberglass this. Haven't quite decided that yet. I've got this costume spread out among like 9 different bins here and there, and the rangefinder. Yep. All right. The armor bits, again, they're the same plastic as this. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I will probably have to repaint the whole thing. The vest is fine. Got the knee pieces. All the soft parts in the armor are fine, right? It's a little snug on me. Terry was a bit thinner than I am. I'm real tight around the neck. I'll have to figure that out. That's going to be annoying, but not that big of a deal. He and I had about the same boot size. All of these I think are fine. Worst case scenarios, I'm probably going to have to repaint most of it. Not a big deal. The hard part, or the thing that's the worst of the condition, is the gauntlets in the backpack. Let me go grab those so you can see what I'm talking about. The backpack was in very rough shape. Everything is soft. All of the details, was whoever made this vacuum formed it. And if you look, like all the dental, just gone, non-existent. That's probably the worst of it. Everything else seems okay. It's just, let me get the rest of it and you'll see what I mean. All right. And this is what I was actually working on. So I have, my original plan was to use PVC so I could screw and unscrew the thrusters, right? These things, solid resin. Again, they were super soft, but the resin on the inside, the details are just amazing. I may end up 3D printing these. The gauntlets were starting to fall apart badly. So I fiberglassed the inside, and these things are just rock solid now. I have to trim everything up, put Velcro on. One of the things Terry did that I thought was fantastic was he had the fuzzy on one, and then the other underside had the rough. Had the rough on it, so we could never, switch them up. That's a brilliant idea. I'm probably going to incorporate something similar in mine. But these really do just need to be trimmed up and a little bit of foam put on them. I'm going to Velcro them so they can go on and off a bit easier. These I think are fine. It's just the backpack. And the thruster and the rocket. It's primarily the backpack that seems to be the problem, right? I'm going to have to repaint the helmet. That'll give us a good idea of what we're working with here. So I think the gauntlets are fine. A little bit of trim, that's easy. It's something super simple to take care of. The problem at this point is going to be making everything match. And this, if I repaint it, are going to be different colors. The green's going to be different colors. So when I end up painting it, and I'm going to have to end up painting it, I'm going to have to paint the whole thing. It's just easier to do it that way. I don't know if the backpack is salvageable. So I've already fiberglassed the inside, and it's much more secure. There were cracks. This whole piece was falling off. So, hold on. We're going to talk to the camera again. Give me a second. So when you have a costume, right? My Tuscan, there are a couple little things I need to fix on it still. My Royal Guard. I've had my Royal Guard for almost a decade now. And needs a little bit here, a little bit there. Those start compounding, and you're like, you get at the end of a troop, you're covered in sweat, and you're like, you put your stuff in your bin, you wash your soft parts, and then you're like, I got all this stuff I want to do. Then life happens. Next time you go to troop, you pull out your costume and you're like, I'm meant to do that. And those things just compound. They just build and build and build. And I think that's what happened with most of this. Back in the day, it was the standards we had in the 501st were much looser than they are now. Yeah, it looks good, right? Now we have 4K high-res screenshots, so we can go, oh, that was okay. It's not as much now. And I think that's where we're at with this backpack. All of the details super soft. And I don't like that. I really want a good looking backpack. But then there becomes a point where, well, if I've just printed everything, it's no longer Terry's Fett. I think just redoing the backpack and leaving everything else the same still keeps the spirit there, So I think that's what we're going to do. I may be able to still salvage the back panel, because this has been the hardest part for me to find. We're going to work on the strapping a little better. But, make a list, we're going to break everything down. I want to know exactly where I need to be to have this costume 100%. I like doing everything on index cards. They're easy to keep with the stuff and not really lose anything. I need to 3D print the backpack, trim the gauntlets, foam the gauntlets, Velcro, hook and loop. I have to fit the soft parts, so I make sure that they fit, and then paint the whole thing. It's not a lot, right? It's a quick list, but there's a lot of parts to it. And I'm going to focus just on the backpack. We're going to get the backpack 100%. The rest of this, I'm going to ignore that because it's all simple stuff anyway. Step 1 is to print the backpack, jetpack, whatever you want to call it. I originally had this idea of... let's back us up a bit. Like I said, I originally wanted to put all this like this. I needed a couple of pieces to go in. So I could unscrew everything, and I way overcomplicated it. And these things are solid resin. That's super heavy. I have the rocket somewhere. So this was the original one. No, this is the inside of the original one, I should say. I didn't like it. I don't like it. It needs much more work. But it was going to go on here, and then thread in. Right? And that was going to be it. The problem with all of that is, A, there's a lot of work, and these none of this is crisp, and I'd like it to be, because Boba Fett should be crisp. And it's heavy. It's just, this alone is heavy. It's solid resin. I didn't like that. I think we're going to 3D print the whole thing. I'm not a big fan of 3D prints on costumes. I'm not going to make a mold of this. It just seems like that's a huge waste. We're going to print it out, and then we're going to fiberglass the inside and maybe fiberglass the outside. So it's all secured inside a fiberglass mesh. But first thing we're going to do, cut and print this. Well, not cut. We're going to cut the file and print it. Probably take me a little bit, but that should be the next video. So, if you're interested in seeing how this plays out, like and subscribe. I know it's a quick one. We're just doing an overview. Like I said, I'm trying to be a little more thorough in my builds. So, if this is something you're interested in, I hope to see you next time.